Inazuma 11 Victory Road has one of the longest and most curious development contexts in recent years, reflecting both the passion of Level 5 Studio and the challenges of creating something worthy of the franchise's legacy. The game was originally announced in 2016 under the name Inazuma 11 Aries, planned to coincide with the new anime series. At that time, the hype was high, blending the nostalgia of those who grew up with the original DS titles and the expectation of a new generation experiencing the magic of stylized football RPG that only Level 5 knows how to deliver. However, it soon became clear that the ambition was too great for the initial schedule. What fascinates me about this process is how the project evolved almost like a chameleon. After the first wave of postponements, the team decided to radically change the concept, rebranding the game to Great Road of Heroes and rethinking its entire structure. This was not just an aesthetic adjustment, but a decision to make room for an original narrative and not just an anime tie-in. I see a cool courage there, but also a reflection of some creative indecision, perhaps motivated by the fear of not reaching the old fan base while trying to capture a new audience. Over time, each new delay brought significant changes in the scope and cast of characters. Instead of focusing only on classic teams and bringing everyone in for an all-stars, Level 5 decided to introduce new protagonists and scenarios, setting the story 25 years into the future of the original universe. I think it's bold and risky, but I confess that this time jump also opens doors to revolutionize, update mechanics, and expand themes, instead of just living off nostalgia. It has an almost reboot spirit, but one that talks too much with the past and present of football, digital and real. On a personal note, I can't look at this saga and not feel a little empathy for the development team. The postponements, according to the studio, were due to both scope problems and demands for global localization, voice recordings, and content balancing. After all, the game is now aiming for a 100% international launch from the start. The feeling is that Level 5 learned from past mistakes and wanted to avoid the frequent stigma that Japanese games arrive weakened or delayed in the West. It's also interesting to notice the impact of these decisions on the community. Many players grew up with Inazuma 11, nurturing a special affection for classic characters like Endu, and every announcement of reinvention, delay, or platform cut brought heated discussions. At the same time, the promise of modes like Chronicle, where we face historical teams from the franchise, is a masterstroke to rescue this nostalgic audience while betting on new narratives and technologies. It seems like an honest attempt to make a title that is both a tribute and a gateway for new fans. Looking at the entire context, Victory Road symbolizes the modern dilemma of big Japanese games, balancing innovation and tradition, serving old fans and pleasing a global base, all while dealing with market pressures and production limitations. Perhaps the greatest merit of this title's development is having survived so many transformations without losing the identity of what makes Inazuma 11 special. The creativity and peculiar charm of mixing football, RPG, and anime in a unique formula. The game brings a story set 25 years after the events of the original series, in a time when football, despite being a culturally dominant sport, faces deep divisions between those who still get excited about the sport and those who reject it. The central plot revolves around the protagonist Destin Billows, a South Cirrus junior high student who initially seeks a world without football, a strong contrast to the passion that marked the franchise's previous games. This already shows a more mature and even reflective approach, quite different from the juvenile innocence of the first games, giving a more dramatic and intense tone to the narrative. The story goes beyond the simple sporting clash, exploring themes of rivalry, redemption, and friendship that cross generations. Harper Evans, the football monster from the traditional and strong Raymond Junior High, personifies the love of football. He represents the living legacy of the sport, while Destin lives an internal conflict that leads him to assemble a team from scratch, seeking to rekindle his own flames and those of the world around him. This dichotomy between tradition and revolution creates a drama with a lot of depth for a sports game, something I personally find exciting, because it gives space for complex characters and stories that hold attention beyond the ball rolling. The plot thus unfolds in a symbolic and real battle between these two worlds. Those who want to extinguish the flame of football, and those who believe in its power of unity and transformation. I'm a fan of how the narrative approaches this duality, bringing an inevitable reflection on what the sport means to each person, whether an artifact of childhood, a dream of glory, or a culture at risk. This emotional depth helps the game stand out, not only as another sports title, but as an RPG and storytelling experience, something few games in the genre manage to do properly. In addition to the protagonists, the game features a diverse cast of characters, each with their own traits and motivations, which help enrich the plot and reinforce the idea that football is above all about people. Characters like Briar Bloomhurst, Cedric Freud, and Reika Shinohara add conflicts and alliances, creating layers where relationships become pillars of the journey in Victory Road. For me, this makes all the difference. They are not just athletes on the field, but characters with stories to tell and connections to build, which makes the confrontations more meaningful. One of the most attractive parts of this story, in my view, is how it uses nostalgia to connect the past with the present future of the series. The Chronicle mode allows us to relive the franchise's historical games, while the main narrative places everything in a more futuristic setting, with advanced infrastructure, elevated rivalries, and an environment that breathes the evolution of football and technology. I like this mix because it respects old fans and at the same time proposes originality, without limiting itself to repeating formulas we already know. I also felt that the story adds a layer of emotional strategy to the gameplay, which is now not just about fast games and incredible specials, but also about building bonds, choosing varied narrative paths, and overcoming personal and collective challenges. The presence of multiple endings is something I really like, as it values the player's decision and encourages replayability, making the plot less linear and more participatory. This flexibility transforms the game into an invitation for the player to live a unique experience where their choices count. What won me over the most in the story of Victory Road was this ability to renew the franchise by bringing an almost philosophical look to such a passionate sport. The story is not afraid to be darker, more challenging, and full of layers, and that, in my opinion, is a breath of fresh air for Inazuma 11. It's a way of showing that football, like life, is a path full of ups and downs where the true trophy lies in what the journey teaches us about ourselves and others. Victory Road brings a revolution to the series' gameplay, abandoning the traditional turn-based scheme for a more dynamic and strategic system, which balances real-time action with deep tactical elements. The system change is a success in my opinion, because besides modernizing the experience, it allows the game to better dialogue with an audience accustomed to fast-paced sports games that require immediate decisions, without losing the RPG essence of previous titles. One of the central systems brought by Victory Road is the tension gauge, a team-shared bar that replaces the old individual technical points. This completely changes resource management during matches, requiring the player to collectively plan and time the use of special abilities correctly. This mechanic creates a sense of unity and command that I find fundamental in sports games with RPG elements, because it reinforces the role of the team and not just isolated characters. Another highlight is the focus system, which requires situational attention and quick reflexes to perform precise actions. It's no longer just choosing the move from the menu. Now the player literally needs to be in the focus of the action to activate combos or ensure passes and finishes. This addition seemed very well thought out to bring a layer of personal skill within the progression based on statistics, making every play more exciting and rewarding. The scramble, a function that simulates real possession disputes, has also been expanded. It allows the player to decide not only whether to pass or shoot, but also to choose between multiple options such as heading, dribbling, or directional passing, which reminds me of a mini-game within the game. This depth brings more realism to the experience and raises the tactical level, as the player's position on the field and the opponent's movement influence these decisions. For me, it brings a breath of fresh air to the genre, which often fails to be repetitive. The construction and customization of teams are another area that catches the eye. Victory Road promises a gigantic database with more than 4,500 players from the franchise's history, all trainable and customizable. This aspect seems fundamental to me, especially for old fans who want to relive classic moments or assemble the team of their dreams with characters from various generations. The investment in this collection and customization shows how much the game wants to be a celebration of the series, but also a deep strategic platform for those who take digital football seriously. To complete, the online experience promises a lot with dynamic tournaments, where strategy, knowledge of mechanics, and timing will be decisive. The possibility of competing globally raises the game to another level, where the old formula of who has the best character wins gives way to a balanced competition that mixes skill and tactics. I'm particularly excited about this online aspect as it makes the game relevant to various audiences, from casual to more dedicated, and helps renew the community around the franchise. Finally, the visual part and sound design accompany all this gameplay evolution, with stylized 3D graphics, fluid animations, and sound effects that reinforce the gratification of special moves. The immersion is reinforced by this careful presentation that, added to the mechanics, elevates the pleasure of playing. For me, this demonstrates that Victory Road is trying to be a complete game, not just in content, but in the sensory experience, delivering the feeling of an interactive anime where every move matters. This is fundamental to keeping the essence of the series alive for new generations. The gameplay of Inazuma 11 Victory Road seems to me the best of both worlds. A game that respects its strategic RPG roots, and at the same time, embraces modernity in the gameplay to deliver faster, more exciting and tactically rich matches. Inazuma 11 Victory Road takes an impressive graphical leap from previous titles in the franchise, adopting a visual style that harmonizes modernity with the classic anime charm that has always marked the series. Right away, the game features highly detailed 3D models for the characters, which, although maintaining stylized traits typical of anime, exhibit a polished finish with defined textures and fluid animations, giving a vivid and dynamic feeling during matches. In addition, the color palette is vibrant and energetic, which helps convey that feeling of fantasy football that fans expect, but with a visual quality that truly draws attention to the current generation of consoles. Playing on the Nintendo Switch 2, I was particularly impressed with the graphical performance. The game runs in 4K and maintains a stable rate of 60 frames per second in dock mode, which provides an experience that is both visually stunning and smooth during fast-paced, action-packed matches. Even the cutscenes and narrative moments are very well produced, with facial expressions and body animations that help intensify the immersion and drama of the story. This graphic quality without sacrificing performance is something that deserves to be highlighted, especially considering the complexity of the scenes on the field and the special effects of the special abilities. The attention to visual details is constant, from the design of the uniforms to the animated stadiums and crowds in the background, which add life and context to the environment. The development team seems to have strived to create scenarios that, despite being stylized, have significant depth and diversity, with gradations that vary according to the game's weather conditions, crowd dynamics, and natural light, which increases atmospheric realism. This setting made me feel part of a great sporting event with every match, reinforcing the value of the visible on larger screens and more robust setups. There is also a maturation in the artistic direction compared to previous titles, which tended more towards a caricatured visual. In Victory Road, the character design strikes a balance between caricature and a more refined stylization, with more natural and slightly less exaggerated body proportions. This creates an interesting effect. Characters still have that Inazuma identity that fans know, but with a touch of realism that allows for better emotional connection and richer visual reading, especially during tense matches and moments of drama in the story. The visual effects of the special techniques are a show apart. Each ability, such as special shots and incredible defenses, is illustrated with striking graphics, light and shadow effects, and cinematographically choreographed animations. During an in-the-zone sequence or a decisive moment, the combination of these effects creates an almost epic feeling, which reminded me of the best moments of sports anime, only now interactive. This visual infrastructure obviously serves not only the aesthetic, but also the clarity of gameplay, helping the player to understand the power and impact of the move in the heat of the match. Even considering the graphical refinement, some specific criticisms emerged in the community, mainly about the 3D models of certain characters that seem not to have received the same polish as the rest. Some even seem inconsistent or too simplified. Personally, despite these small flaws, I don't see this as an impediment to enjoying the game. I believe that these are points that can be improved in future updates, or that even so do not compromise the major visual set, which delivers an impressive and intoxicating experience. Playing Victory Road, the visual impact is amplified by the sound design and soundtrack that masterfully complement the atmosphere, creating an immersive audiovisual experience that deserves to be highlighted. This integration is what transforms a match into something memorable. From the vibration of the crowd, through the intense musical beats during the disputes, to the sounds of shots and passes, everything contributes to a feeling of being before a great spectacle. For me, the game's graphics package is not just an aesthetic modernization. It's a way of bringing the soul of Inazuma 11 to a new level, maintaining the energy and enthusiasm that made the series so beloved. In summary, the graphics are a balance between technical evolution and fidelity to the franchise's unique style. They highlight Level 5's ambition to take the series to a new level and at the same time respect the visual heart of the brand. This mix makes the game a beautiful demonstration of what the current generation can offer, both for old fans and new players who want to dive into this colorful and vibrant universe with cutting-edge quality. Victory Road delivers solid and consistent performance, reflecting all of Level 5's efforts to present a fluid and technically modern experience. On the original Nintendo Switch console, the game operates at 1080p at 30 frames per second in dock mode, which is expected for the platform and ensures stable gameplay, although without the full visual brilliance offered by more powerful versions. I personally found this performance acceptable, especially for those who are renewing the hobby with more limited hardware, as the game does not present abrupt drops or noticeable stability problems in this scenario. Those who play on the Nintendo Switch 2, however, have an impressive leap, as the title runs at native 4K at 60 FPS in dock mode, which places Victory Road on a visual and technical level of a modern console. This fluidity in gameplay is essential for a football title based on quick decisions and dynamic sequences, and the fact that it maintains 60 frames per second at this resolution demonstrates excellent technical artistic optimization work. In practice, the feeling of playing on the Switch 2 is that of a very responsive title, with animations and controls that perfectly accompany the action on the field, which contributes to involvement and playing pleasure. On the PlayStation family platforms, the game also delivers very robust results. On the PS4, Victory Road reaches 1080p resolution and maintains a stable 60 FPS, enough to ensure good gameplay. Moving up to the PS4 Pro, the resolution reaches 4K, maintaining 60 frames. On the PS5, we have 4K at 60 FPS, and on the PS5 Pro, the game can reach up to an impressive 120 FPS, something that transforms the game with a smoothness of image and almost cinematic response. For me, this variety allows players to choose an experience that matches their hardware and personal taste, always without giving up the precise gameplay that the title demands. On the Xbox Series, the behavior is similar to that of the PS5. The Series X version runs in 4K at 120 FPS, guaranteeing maximum resolution and extreme fluidity, while the Series S maintains 1440p at 60 FPS, balancing quality and performance for the more modest hardware. This cross-platform consistency is a highlight, as many games suffer from technical imbalances between platforms. But Victory Road remains true to offering a premium experience on any new generation console, without major visual or gameplay sacrifices. On PC, the experience is even more flexible and powerful, supporting 4K resolutions and frame rates above 120 FPS, as well as offering support for ultra-wide monitors. This openness to advanced configurations ensures that players with robust computers can enjoy the maximum graphical and performance potential, something that is particularly interesting for those looking for combinations of cutting-edge hardware for esports or even streaming. The ability to vary configurations in detail also prevents intermediate machines from having performance problems, translating into accessibility and comfort. Although most of the experience is very well optimized, some community reports mention specific performance problems, mainly in online matches with slowdown and lag hindering the fluidity of the matches. This, however, seems to be more linked to connection and matchmaking issues than to failures in the game engine, as performance remains stable locally. This situation generates frustration for some players, but can be corrected with future network and balancing updates, which is common in modern multiplayer games. I personally felt that the game still needs fine-tuning in this aspect to ensure a satisfactory online experience for all audiences. Overall, my impression after playing Victory Road is quite positive regarding technical performance. The game perfectly balances graphic quality and fluidity for different generations of hardware, delivering an experience that can be appreciated both by those with portable consoles and by fans who seek the maximum on the most demanding systems. This stability and adaptability, added to the fast-paced gameplay of the title, mean that performance is not an impediment, but rather one of the strong points that contributes to the player's involvement in every match and online tournament. Inazuma 11 Victory Road arrives with great promises and a legion of anxious fans. But is it worth buying right at launch? From a personal point of view, if you are a hardcore fan of the franchise, grew up following the original games and want to test this new phase of the series that mixes nostalgia with innovation, the launch is undoubtedly worth it. The game delivers a new experience with graphical improvements, revamped gameplay, and a more mature story, which makes it a full plate for those who want to relive or delve deeper into the world of Inazuma 11 as soon as it comes out of the oven. On the other hand, if you are not a longtime fan or are in doubt, it might be wise to wait a little. Games of this size, especially with so many postponements and complex scope, often receive important patches in the first months that fix bugs, adjust balancing, and even add extra content. Having already played, I realize that Victory Road has the potential to become a classic of the current generation. But its complexity and new features can be a little dense for more casual players or newcomers to the franchise, who may benefit from community reviews and feedback before investing. The game is especially suitable for those who like tactical RPGs mixed with sports, as its gameplay demands real strategy to use team resources, special abilities, and take advantage of the tension gauge system. If you enjoy football but also a deep character evolution system, tactical formation, and action-packed combats, Victory Road delivers all of this well aligned. For me, this combination of sports action with RPG is one of the highlights, which makes it suitable for those who don't just want a common football game, but a strategic and emotional adventure. Another segment that the title serves very well is that of fans of anime and stories with themes of friendship, rivalry, and overcoming. The mature plot, with complex characters and a high-quality visual presentation, makes this work something attractive for those who appreciate engaging narratives and want something that goes beyond the field. Touching on issues of legacy and passion for the sport, if you like to connect with the emotional side of the characters while playing, Victory Road does not disappoint and brings an experience worth living at launch to feel the intensity of each story arc. For online and competitive players, the game delivers a good set of multiplayer modes that require skill and knowledge of mechanics to win. If you like games with active communities, tournaments, and ranked matches, Victory Road offers a solid platform for this. At launch, the online base should be active, which can be a differential for those who like quick confrontations and want to test their teams against real players. Although some reports still indicate instability, I believe this should be corrected with patches, and the purchase at launch may be worth it for those who want to get involved in the online disputes from the start. However, for those looking for a casual game, especially fans only of more traditional football or who are not interested in deep RPGs, Victory Road may not be the best immediate investment. The learning curve of tactical mechanics and the complexity of the ability system can push away players more focused on quick and simple matches. In this case, it is better to wait for promotions or a more refined version with updates, as the game requires commitment and willingness to delve deeper to be fully enjoyed, or perhaps the game is not for you. Victory Road is an acquisition that is very worthwhile for dedicated fans of the series, and for those who like sports RPGs with rich narrative and strategic gameplay. If you fit this profile, I recommend buying at launch without fear to enjoy all the content and the active community from the beginning. For casual or undecided players, waiting for community reviews and post-launch patches may be the best decision to avoid initial frustrations. Overall, the game delivers a premium experience for those who truly want to get involved in the Inazuma 11 universe in this new generation.